years, I never felt like I had enough time. I would watch anxiously as my calendar filled up with more than I had time to do. I'd feel exhausted with the heavy responsibility that weighed on my mind about getting it all done. Friends would call and I would be abrupt and stingy with my time, telling them I can't talk right now. It got so bad that my mother would start our conversations out with, "I know you're really busy, but..." It was more than a bit excessive. On some days, I could actually cross items off my calendar or my list as done. The momentary satisfaction was lovely when I acknowledged the completion, yet it didn't last very long before I was worried about having time to complete the next thing I'd committed to. In meetings, I'd start to get anxious toward the last 10 minutes, worrying about the next thing I had to do or get ready for. And this made it really hard for me to stay focused and present during meeting wrap-ups. Thinking about my schedule would keep me up at night as my mind thrashed around 1,000 options to fulfilling on my promises. I would wake up anxious about not missing anything critical, working hard to stay focused all day, and then end the afternoon or evening exhausted from keeping up with it all. After seeing that most of the time on my calendar reflected obligations to others and not to myself, I realized that I had connected my value to my time. The more that I gave to others, the more valuable I believed I was to my family, colleagues, customers, and friends. My calendar was filled with doing things and achieving things for others. And I wasn't alone in this view. Many of my friends, colleagues, and clients felt the same way about their time between obligations for work, their children, family, and community, filling up the hours, days, weeks, months, and years. We wonder where the time goes, even though we are the ones filling up our days. We feel concerned when our calendar is full, and even more concerned when it's empty. We often present our busyness as a badge of honor. So the limiting belief that I had lurking underneath my intense and fearful relationship with my calendar was this: when I do something for someone else, I'm adding value. If I add enough value to others, then I'll feel like I'm good enough. Well, this perspective made it hard for me to say no when others asked for my time. And every time I said yes to something I really wanted to say no to, I lost a little more energy and built up a little more terror about how I'd get it all done. Every time I didn't make time for what felt best to me, I felt a little more heaviness in my heart and a deeper drain on my energy. When I started swapping out activities on my calendar that were obligations to ones that were solely of my choosing, something big changed inside. Less than 1 year later, time was no longer my terrorist. Now I only work on activities that I've chosen versus ones that I said yes to from that old sense of obligation. I can feel the difference and say no to projects that feel heavy or scattered, knowing that they can't be successful right now. All of the projects and clients at work now are energizing, and I feel clear and creative. I can really feel the difference now between now and how it used to be. It's the difference between how you feel when you see meeting written on your calendar versus seeing vacation in Cancun written on your calendar. Every time you see vacation, you feel good. And every time you think about it, you take a deep breath of relief, or excitement rises to the surface in anticipation of the break from obligations. Now that I'm only doing what I love in my work, I don't seem to need the same break at the end of the day, on weekends, or through vacations. Now that I work exclusively for myself and only do what I truly love and feel called to do, the content on my calendar has changed. I don't fill it up with obligations anymore. I fill it up with what feels good to me so I can be filled up and give from there. If you have too many obligations or describe yourself as the overly responsible one in your family, your team, or in your group, time may have turned into your terrorist. If so, here's a few things you can do. Tell the truth about what time or your calendar means to you. What's the meaning that you've given to your schedule? Does it reflect your importance, your financial status, your value, your intelligence, your contribution, your worth, your being a good enough person, sibling, friend, child, student? Taking a look at how you relate to time is a great first step towards changing it to something you want. Challenge and change your limiting beliefs. We learned as children that if we make others feel good, they will help us get our needs met. We were rewarded for doing what our parents and others asked of us, and they in turn felt good about being good parents or other caregivers. Many of us never learned how to turn that external approval inward into self-approval, and this kept us stuck in the old habit of looking outside of ourselves to bosses, spouses, friends, and even our children to get our needs met. Our calendars are filled with taking care of others in the hopes that our needs will get met in turn. As adults, we can question this belief about making others feel good as a way to get our needs met, and instead ask, is this belief really true now? Start with what feels best or kindest to you. It's our job to make ourselves feel good, and that means it's other people's jobs to do the same for themselves. When we live this way, relationships become unconditional, honest, and uplifting when we're no longer responsible for the happiness of another. You can begin to make choices like this in every aspect of your life, and your relationship with your calendar will change automatically. When we look for others to give us what we need, we lose touch with our own desires in an effort to be what others need or want. When we fully support ourselves by taking personal responsibility for what we've created and start asking for what we want and say no to what we don't want, the universe can